The world is something right now, ain't it? But I have been finding ways to care for myself and to find inspiration that have been working, and I wanted to share them with you all, just in case they work for you. So let's go. Right now, especially in this moment, we all need community and respite from the influx of news and announcements and updates that we've been receiving. So hopefully this next few minutes does that for you. If you like what you see, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. First thing that's inspired me is shadow work. Shadow work is a phrase you might be unfamiliar with, but what shadow work is basically inner child work. It's going back to that younger version of yourself, whatever age you choose, and exploring the things that that younger version of yourself liked, the things that that younger version of yourself needed, etc. And I've been doing that shadow work in the form of reading. I've been reading novels, y'all. I tend to read mostly plays because of my work, and I also read a lot of self-help and spiritual type of books. But when I was a kid, I loved reading. I really did. There was even a summer where I read 100 books, and my dad paid me for each book. Thank you, Daddy. But yeah, I've been reading some of my favorite novels from when I was a teenager, and it has been so enlightening to me. The first one I read was The Bluest by Toni Morrison. For those who are unfamiliar, The Bluest was Toni Morrison's first novel, and it was written in the 80s, but the story itself takes place, I believe, in 1946 in Lorain, Ohio, and it is about Black girls, three specifically, two sisters who at one point their family take in a girl named Piccola Breedlove, who is described as being Black and ugly. Piccola has a tragic life, and what she wants most out of life is blue eyes. It's a sad story, but in rereading it, I remembered something so profound. Reading this book in the 12th grade in my English class with my teacher, shout out to Mrs. Adamson, Mrs. Vicky Adamson. This book is what made me want to become a writer because I didn't know that there were stories about Black girls. I was a voracious reader as a kid. I read a lot of books. I read Judy Blume. Dear God, it's me, Margaret. And I read books like Dinky Hopper Shoot Smack or something like that. But a lot of the books that I read at that time were centered around white characters. And I feel that The Bluest was one of the first novels I read that was about girls who I felt I identified with, who I looked like, who had similar concerns that I had. And that was amazing. That did something for me. What I love most about Toni Morrison's writing is how lyrically dense it is. How she is able to describe what might seem mundane to most people in paragraphs and paragraphs and still keep you interested. How she is able to paint a setting in a way that I feel like I'm there. That's hard to do as a writer, and I admire that about her. She's an ancestor now. I have so much reverence for Toni Morrison because I look at that book as the beginning of my journey as a creative. Looking back at that book now, I experience so many different emotions from what I experienced before. First of all, I'm an adult now, so reading the stories of these children hit me in a different way as an adult, as a mother. I feel like initially when I read the book, I felt pity for Piccola, and this go round I felt compassion. I saw parts of myself in that little Black girl who wanted blue eyes. It was just a beautiful read, y'all. I listened to it on Audible, and if you listen to it on Audible, it is narrated by the author, Toni Morrison, as well as the illustrious, legendary actress Ruby Dee, and it's fantastic, y'all. So that's the first one. I also reread another book that I love called The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Souljah, which is not the same type of story at all. That could be categorized as an urban novel, and it is about a teenage girl named Winter Santiago who is spoiled and rich because her daddy is a drug kingpin, but her family goes through hard times and she has to figure out a way to sustain herself and to save her family. It's a cautionary tale, but I loved that book as a teenager, and returning to it, I read it just as fast as I did back then. Thankfully, I had jury duty. So I was so into the book that a person who was next to me was like, excuse me, what book is that? Because it is like a movie, the way it plays out. I realized that the thing that I loved about that book and about that character of Winter Santiago, I mean, she's a mean girl, and like I said, she's spoiled, but what I identified with is that Winter is a hustler. And me, I identify with that so much as a first generation Nigerian Hustling is in my blood, y'all. Seeing how she was able to make a way out of no way and look good while doing it. Hey, I identify. The book was exciting, it was compelling, and again, it represented stories that were recognizable to me. It represented characters who I saw, types of people who I knew from my neighborhood. It just shows the importance of representation and how much seeing myself in art lit me up as a child and continues to light me up right now, and is the reason I continue to write stories that are not told and are not seen usually and not highlighted by the mainstream. Second thing that is giving me inspiration is nature, specifically being silent in nature. There's another book that I've been reading, studying, The Seven Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. And the first law is the law of pure potentiality. And that law basically emphasizes that when you spend quiet time to yourself every day, that is when you get the most amount of creative ideas, the most amount of spiritual communication, the most amount of clarity, because it's tuning out all of the noise. And y'all, there is so much noise. There's not just the noise that is normal, flipping through social media, the noise of neighbors because it's getting warm outside. There's just noise. There's the noise of the news. There's the noise of stress, the noise of collective trauma. That silence has been such a reset for me. I've spent silent time walking, going on morning walks around local lakes, which has been so beautiful. Observing the birds and the wildlife, and it's just going to continue to get more beautiful as it gets warmer outside. And I've also been gardening, growing flowers and food and taking care of the landscaping around my home. And I'm still a novice gardener when it comes to growing food, but it's so exciting to see just how much can come from our own hands, and it is a reminder of how much power we possess. I think that's why I like growing food so much. The favorite thing that I'm growing right now is sweet peppers. I got a bag of sweet peppers and I saved the seeds. And I planted them and they're actually growing. How cool is that, y'all? I've been learning of ways to kind of regenerate food that one thinks is finished. For example, potatoes that have eyes on them. Do you know that you could slice them up and throw them in dirt and you get more potatoes? I've also done that with celery, romaine lettuce, where not in the dirt, but put it in water and they actually start regrowing. And in a time where it feels like so much is out of my control, out of our control, being able to control that feels miraculous, and it's just what I need to give me the power to keep moving. It has been so enriching and a chance to reconnect to the divine and reconnect to myself, and it is a reminder that the world is so much bigger than me and my problems. There is a whole ecosystem going outside. There are multiple ecosystems. When you step outside, there's a different ecosystem in the shade than there is in the sun. I just love that connection to the earth. It reminds me that I too am a part of nature. Nature gets whipped around sometimes. We just had a thunderstorm last night. Nature was getting whipped around, but guess what? It's shining today. The flower buds are still opening. Because nature is resilient, I see that I can be resilient as well. And then the third thing that's been inspiring me, of course, is art. Poetry. It is National Poetry Writing Month. I'm a poet, and for National and Global Poetry Writing Month, a bunch of poets write a poem a day. I started that today and wrote my first poem, and I love it. We all sing down here, sing the praises of the rich and memories of being poor. This drama lyrique has no beats, no melody, just a screech here and there, filling the air with fear of ice melting down and making neighbors disappear, of being laid off while being told to get up, of being stuck in a country that regresses daily. Ah, here comes the reprise. Will the proletariat rise or continue to fit the mold of suburban cookie cutter homes? Make mansions with no fries and a Diet Coke on the side? Lights rise. Intermission. What takes place in Act Two is our decision. Sing wisely. This is my favorite time of the year because as an artist, there's often pressure, especially as a writer, to get it right the first time. But when you are in community with other writers and we are just experimenting, every poem doesn't have to be good. And that takes so much pressure off. And it allows room for creativity in a way that gets rid of writer's block and gets rid of self-judgment and criticism about the work. And I carry that into my mentorship with young playwrights, that the first draft doesn't have to be good. First draft is by nature good because you sat down and wrote it. hello. And I am also listening to more music, listening to songs and artists that make me feel alive and feel like they are representing and speaking to the emotions and the feelings that I'm having at this time. So I wanted to give y'all some song recommendations in case you want to go and listen to some of these songs. First one, Wesley's Theory from Kendrick Lamar from his album To Pimp a Butterfly. Wesley's Theory is basically about the trick of Uncle Sam. If you saw his Super Bowl performance, I feel like it was an extension of that song. When we look at just the way that government or establishments can operate, it feels familiar, and just musically, it's gorgeous. It's hip hop, it's jazz, it's everything, as Doechii would say. And then I have also been listening to I Smile by Kirk Franklin, legendary gospel artist. I love gospel music. Kirk Franklin is one of my favorite artists, but that song always uplifts me, even in some of my darkest moments. 2 years ago when I was in chemotherapy, those were some dark times, but I could not get through that song without smiling. And we all need to smile sometimes, y'all. It's been scientifically proven that smiling actually makes us feel better. So if you have not smiled yet today, let's smile together. Third song, I Ain't Got No, I Got Life by ancestor Nina Simone. And I love that song so much because I can relate to listing the things that we don't have. There's so many things that folks are lacking that if we look around, we could list a bunch of things that we may lack. But my favorite part of the song, she sings, "What about God? Why am I alive anyway?" Then she starts to list the things that she has. And y'all, I'm getting emotional talking about it because the fact that we are here, breathing, that's a gift. Life is a gift. Life is miraculous. And we got life. And as long as we got life, we got hope. Then the last song is Wait by Doechii. And I love that song so much because it is a reminder to be present. Doechii says, "No need to bring fall back in August, September. You should just fall back and wait. Who wants to clear the fog and all the smog in your mirrors when you could just fall back and wait? Delete your call log and clear your agenda. You should just eat what's on your plate." And I love that so much because it is so easy to fall into the trap of getting stuck in the past, ruminating on the past and what should have been or what could have been, or being preoccupied with the future, what is going to happen. We always have the option to just wait and be in this present moment. When we are in the present, that is when we are okay. When we're in the present and not thinking about what happened or what might happen and just we're okay. We are going to be okay. In the words of Kendrick Lamar, we going to be all right. And I hope that you're all right. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you. I appreciate you. And I send you much love. If any of this inspired you, tell me about it in the comments or tell others what is providing inspiration and hope for you so that we can catalog the activities and the pieces of material that make us feel good. So that we have something that we can refer back to because we need it, y'all. The world needs love and community. And I'm so proud that I've created a space where that is starting to happen. And it's because of y'all. So much love to everybody. Hope y'all are well. Until next time, peace out.
Book I wrote called The Bluest was one I was not really thinking about publishing or reviewers or other readers. It was a book I wanted to read, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So I began to write it, and it took forever because it had no real reason for being done except my own reading pleasure. It was like a long reading exercise that took 5 years. So when I would read it and I didn't like it a bit, I would change it. I think it's been very helpful for me to look at it as a reader because it gives you distance. Your ego is not all entangled in it, and you're not just thrilled with it because you wrote it. And some writers really prefer to be authors. Those are people who write because that's what they do, or someone has asked them, or they have a contract. I really call myself now a writer because I only write when I can't not do it, when I'm so compelled to do it. And part of it is what I presume will be, since I'm a very good reader and a very fastidious and careful reader, very picky about what I like, I would try to write the kind of book that I really wanted to read.